Yo, what's going on, E7 fam? I'm Sue, and earlier this morning, Tristan and I were talking about what was the best way to farm gold, catalyst, charms, stigma, and of course, AP, given the current state of everything, all the changes that have come to the Epic 7 Origin update. Because previously, it was things like Eulogy for a Saint, and also things like Unrecorded History. After a couple of hours of us putting our heads together and testing stuff, right, I have what I think is probably a comparable option for you guys all here, which is the purpose of this video. Episode 4, Chapter 10, Hidden Truths, puts up some pretty comparable results to Eulogy for a Saint, and I'll talk about the differences between those in this video. The absolute best solution, though, it's still too early to tell, at least from the sample size. I know Tristan will be going live later today with a stream to kind of try to figure out more, get larger data sets, sample sizes from the community. But from like the 3 or 4 hours or so of us testing earlier this morning to kind of figure things out, I think that episode 4, chapter 10, Hidden Truth is probably your like next closest option, especially for those of you that don't have access to Eulogy for a Saint. Let's talk about Eulogy for a Saint first. So in case you're new or you're a returning player or you don't know, Eulogy for a Saint is under the Book of Memories. You go to side story here, right? You go to the Book of Memories here on the bottom right, and you'll see there is Eulogy for a Saint. This was previously the best place in the entire game to farm stigma, gold, charms, right? All that stuff. Its only major drawback is that it doesn't get AP for Catalyst, which that used to be why you would farm Unrecorded History. But that's gone now. So now you need an alternative to farm AP, right? So if you want to actually play Eulogy for a Saint, if you're a new player, you need these milestone in time currencies. You will get them from this Orbis guide by simply doing them eventually, right? If you have already done that, right? You've already used up your 2 freebies because you're a veteran player or something and you haven't unlocked this, you need to buy one of these, which costs 900 Sky Stones. And then all you have to do is just go into Eulogy for a Saint, hit Adventure, and proceed to make your way through the levels until you reach this stage here, 3-7 Grayfield. This is the level you're going to be farming in order to actually get your stigma, gold, charms, so on and so forth, right? But do not, and I repeat, do not clear Eulogy for a Saint, because if you clear it and close it and claim all the rewards, you can never reopen it ever again, which is why there is a need amongst the community for an alternative to Eulogy for a Saint, which I believe is Hidden Truth, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So let's talk about this level here, Grayfield. So let's talk about the pros and cons of it, right? So pro number 1, it's very easy, right? Any new player can do this. Hidden Truth is much harder to do for a new player. You could probably still do it, but it will be very slow, very difficult. Which brings us to point 2. Because it's so easy, you could farm this thing at warp speed. So if all you care about is just dumping all of your leaders as fast as possible, bring in as much gold income round the clock as possible, Eulogy for a Saint, like, it still cannot be beat, right? All you simply need is one character that has got good AoE clear, like Arbiter Vildred, and if you don't want to use him, then you could use Free Spirit Tyria, which is the character that they give everybody in the tutorial. So use Tyria, otherwise use Arbiter Vildred. I think Tyria is actually slightly better, but I already have Arbiter Vildred geared. And then after that, this brings us to another amazing point about Eulogy for a Saint. You just put any 3 characters you want on your team, right? They can just make sure they have no speed gear to kind of speed up the process. You can put them on a bonus experience artifact, right? To help increase your stigma, increase your gold game, right? And then just build friendship with them. Or level them up, right? Like you can level characters up this way if you want, just to build XP. So you'll get more XP, you'll get friendship farming, which is obviously good for free skill ups, things like that, right? And again, the speed and, you know, ease of how fast you can clear this level, it just cannot be beat.
Witness my power. Chaos. Dark blade. Witness my power.
So yeah, there you go. As you can see, it takes like no time to clear. And on average, you'll get about what you see here, 10.5k gold, which when we compare that to Hidden Truth, which is 20 stamina versus the 8 from Eulogy for a Saint here, you could basically come up with that you get roughly around like 26 and change K, not HP, gold for Eulogy for a Saint. And when you factor in the gear that you could sell, that's another like 1100 per piece. So it's about 27.5k gold is what you'll get per 20 stamina spent on Eulogy for a Saint. And the overall stigma that you get is about 0.8 stigma better per stamina spent versus Hidden Truth, which is what I'm going to tell you. But, again, Hidden Truth is comparable from what I've found, right? So, let's go over to Hidden Truth here and talk about it here. Episode 4, Chapter 10. It gives roughly about 26.8k gold per run, which is less than what you get from Eulogy for a Saint, but it's like within 1,000 gold most of the time. It also drops, on average, about 15 powder per run, which 15 powder is worth 1 charm, right? So, essentially, if you don't hit a charm every 2.5 runs of Eulogy for a Saint, Hidden Truth actually comes out ahead. And it's possible for you to get as high as like 27 powder a run, but as few as like 6. The average, like I said, seems to be about 15 from my small sample size. We'll have to test it. But right off the bat, you're getting comparable charm numbers with Hidden Truth. Like, it might be slightly less, right? Because when you factor in the sold equipment, it's 2 powder per sold equipment. It's very possible you might get like 17 or 19 powder worth of stuff off of a run of Eulogy for a Saint, in which case then obviously it just goes way ahead of this one. But like, if you just low roll on Eulogy, it's not going to be anywhere near what you're getting here in Hidden Truth. Like, if you go like 5-6 runs without a charm, Hidden Truth starts to pull ahead. And again, gold is slightly worse here, right? But the problems with Hidden Truth here, right, are that it is significantly harder, like I said, and it takes significantly longer. So if you just care about farming with something comparable, you don't care about clear speed, play whatever the hell you want that just clears it at 100% rate. It's not going to matter. It's going to give you comparable stigma, comparable gold, comparable charms, right? But of course, give you that coveted AP, right, that you're going to need for your catalyst. It's also going to give you proof of courage for things like specialty change quests, and also donating to your guild, because remember, they got rid of dispatches, so this is like the best way to do that. And then obviously you have the chance of picking up this epic secret catalyst for thieves every once in a while, which is nice. And also, Hidden Truth can drop charms. It's just I don't have a large enough sample size to tell you how much of a drop rate it is. Like, I've gotten like 2 back-to-back, and then I haven't gotten any after that. So, again, it's still too early to tell. What I will say, though, is this is the team I've come up with. If you just want to farm this specifically to get the best of both worlds, you'll take a small gold loss, you'll take a small stigma loss, you'll take a small speed loss, just to have the ability to get AP for Catalyst while still at least storing a huge chunk of gold, stigma, stuff like that. Like, right? You don't want to compromise too much, but still be able to get AP. I think this is the level. And this team right here is, I think, the team that farms it the fastest, that I've found at least. It's 48 seconds in order to actually get a full clear on this thing, which is obviously way slower than like the 10 to 12 from Eulogy for a Saint. So let's talk about who we're playing and why. First up here, we have Vivian. Vivian, and you'll notice this is a common theme amongst all the characters I'm playing here, is built the same way that you build her for a Banshee 13 one-shot, only she is on Warhorn in order to help us squeak out the damage. You will need to squeak out as much damage as you possibly can. This is not even remotely new player or maybe even mid-game player friendly. This is purely for veterans. If you can't build the team, that's fine. Just play whatever you can that 100% clears it. So you want Vivian on Warhorn. You want her to be the fastest character on your team. And if you have imprints, set her to the team imprint of the top and bottom for the extra 13% attack. Next is Vildred, who's built the same way you built him for an Asthmatic 13 one-shot, which is to say on Destruction Torrent, he does not necessarily need to be 190 speed. He needs to be the second slowest character on your team, right? And you need him to be on a damage increasing artifact. Wind Rider was just the highest level one that I had laying around. Choose whatever you have that will help you out the most. Maybe Symbol of Unity, Portrait of the Saviors, whatever have you. But you're going to probably need him on Destruction Torrent, right? Again, he needs to be the second slowest character on your team. I think no slower than like 165 or 170. I think that's like the absolute slowest you can take him. And obviously, Self-Imprint is huge here as well for helping you eke out damage. Top slot here is going to be Mercedes. The reason why you choose Mercedes is lots of AoE for wave clearing and also has a guaranteed 8.4% team attack imprint, which will help you out a ton. You can use a damage increasing artifact like a Symbol of Unity, Portrait of Saviors, whatever have you. That's going to be all well and good. I didn't need it. You might need it. If you don't need it, I would recommend here you play an XP increasing artifact to help out your heroes, because in case you don't know, if your characters are all maxed out on the XP artifact, you will get more Stigma, which means more gold. So it will help bridge the gap between this and Eulogy for a Saint. So play her on Records of Unity or whatever XP increasing artifact that you have. Again, good damage. This is basically the same that you would use for like a Golem one-shot build. And then finally here, you can play Watcher Shuri, and he's built the exact same way that you build him for a Katie's one-shot build. So yeah, it's pretty much exactly the same. You don't necessarily need him on Daydream Joker. I haven't really tested it. I just kind of threw him on a Symbol of Unity as like a holdover, because another character you can play in this spot is Commander Pavel if you have him. So if you already have like an RTA Commander Pavel, he will work in this same spot. It should work out just fine. But for me, Watcher Shuri was the cleanest one with less RNG. So that's why I ended up going with him. Obviously, the speed imprint would help, right? Because he is the same speed as my Vildred, and I did not want to disassemble my Vildred or Shuri or rebuild them because they work perfectly fine with Hunt teams that I already have. So that's why I leave him on the team imprint, because then it would technically make him 10 speed slower than Vildred, right? So therefore, it always lines up. It goes Vivian, Mercedes, Vildred, and then Shuri in that order. All right, so now that I've explained the team, let me show you a quick run. Again, it's about 48 to 50 something seconds.
Destruction.
So you'll have Vivian come here, go S3. And then we have Mercedes S3 here.
To the end of futility.
And then Vildred will S3 here. It's important that Vildred's S3 kills at least one unit. Right? And then Dancing Blade will pick up the rest if you fail to full clear. Vivian S2. Mercedes should cleanly kill the whole wave off of both here. And then you come to the boss, and this is very quick. One, and then Watcher Shuri, S3, and that picks up the kill. And there you go. That is how you farm it super quick. And as you can see, we high rolled on the Stigma, but we low rolled on both the gold and the boot charm. Usually you get about, 18, so between 12 and 18. So like I said, 15 is the average. And then the gold here, 14k, this is much lower than you normally would get, right? Normally, like I said, you get about 27k. If you get more than one gold drop, it might be as high as like 48 is the highest I've seen. But obviously, since we low rolled on the gold, we got the high roll here on the Stigma. Anyways, those are my findings after like 3.5 hours so far with Tristan. Again, I expect him to have a more comprehensive and easier solution to this whole thing. But the TLDR is Eulogy for a Saint is probably still the best overall option. But if you want Catalyst, then Hidden Truth is a mighty fine alternative. Anyways, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me down in the comment section below. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your week, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later now.